You're the reason I'm traveling on. But don't think twice, it's alright. Hey friends, how's it going? David Potts here with Song Notes, and today I'm going to show you how to play Don't Think Twice, It's Alright, the Bob Dylan classic song, of course, right? So this is going to be the fingerstyle version of this song. Now, I did a separate lesson on a strum-along version, so if you just want to learn a campfire or otherwise, strum-along version, check out my other video. I go really deep and I show you some real simple ways to play some of the more tricky chords. It's a great way to get started with this song. With this lesson, though, I want to level up the difficulty a little bit, right? We're going to be doing some fingerstyle stuff. I'm going to show you as close as I think I can to the way Bob Dylan plays it, but I'm also going to show you a few other ways to approach, especially that intro riff, right? Because there's so much opportunity for a bit of expression and nuance there. Dylan's version is kind of fast and kind of sloppy and muddy, so you can kind of, interpret it a few different ways. And I'll show you a few different arrangements based on a few different difficulty levels. So it's a great way to get started with the intro. And if you want to play the rest of the song, of course, this lesson will apply. I'll show you how to finger pick the verse, which was quite a fun thing to learn. It was challenging, of course, because you're doing this Travis picking style and you're doing that while you're singing on top. So it's a bit tricky, but again, I'm going to break things down and give you some options. So as always, get the Song Notes PDF. I have it on my website, handmade by me. I went really deep with this one. It's many pages long, but it's organized with care. First page gives you what you need to know with the lyrics and the chords at a glance, right? Then I'll get into the progressions, the chord shapes, some of the walk downs, and I'll talk about the intro riff, show you 4 different arrangements for that, as well as talk about finger picking the verse of the song. So it's all there. It's a great value, and this PDF that I made will apply to both this lesson, my fingerstyle version, as well as the other video I did, which is the more strummy lesson. So however you want to play it, the PDF will help you get where you want to go. But with that said, though, let's zoom in on the guitar and learn this song. Don't think twice. It's all right. All right, so first up, let's look at the chords and the progression of this song. I just want to do a quick recap of this because all the finger picking nuance I'm going to talk about sort of requires you to understand this progression and the chord shape. So, the simplest version of the chords looks like this. I'm going to show you some more advanced voicings in a minute, right? But we're in the key of C, right? So we have our C, our G, our A minor, our F, right? I'm going to show you some options on how to play the F. We'll need a D7. Simplest version is just like this. I'm going to show you a wrapped thumb version in a little bit, and as well as a C7. Okay, so if you just took these chords, you could finger pick it using those simple voicings. You take the progressions here, right? We go through the verse. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, right? A minor, and to F 2 3 4 F, no by C 2 3 4 G 2 3 4. And the second half of the verse repeats the first half, but notice that in the second line, we're going to have a D7 instead of the F, right? So it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. A minor, 2 measures. Then we go to the D7. It'll never do somehow. Then it ends with this G for 2 measures, right? I'm going to show you a little trick here you can do in a minute. But the chorus is going to be, C for 2 measures, C for 2 measures, C7, break it down, right? And F 2 3 4, F 2 3 4, D7 2 3 4, D7 2 3 4. Then we have this sort of ending. Now you're the reason I'm a-traveling on, but don't think twice, it's all right. So I just did a single strum for each measure there, right? That's the sort of really, really broad stroke version. But let's get into some of the more nuance with the chords starting right here, right? So the first one is going to be this G7 voicing. You're going to want to know, right? It's obviously just a G. Well, if you don't know it, I won't say obviously. That's kind of presumes a lot. So this is our G chord, right? However you want to do the voicing. Now, in this chord, the G7, you typically learn when you learn a G7 is like this. Where on the thinnest string, you're doing the 1st fret, right? Now I'm typically going to mute the 5th string. I'm just not going to play it. I'm going to sort of lean my ring finger into it and just do it index finger. This is my G7. Now this is important because this chord, you're often going to hammer on your index finger on that 1st fret, which gives you the distinctive sound, right? So that's going to be a little riff you're going to use throughout the song if you want. So that's the G7, right? Now the A minor and the A minor over G, this is an A minor, and the A minor over G is basically going to have this bass note. Now, 2 ways to play it, right? You'll find folks teaching it, do a regular A minor and then use your pinky. I don't like this version personally. It's just not comfortable to play. I feel like my pinky is always just about to hit all the strings, and it's just, I don't know, it's not my favorite. What I like to do, and what I'm going to do the rest of this lesson, is take the regular A minor and just pick up your ring finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the low E string. This technically kind of makes it like a C over G, right? Because this is like a C, the first highest 4 notes of a C major chord. But your ring finger's on the 6th string instead of the 5th string. So yeah, but technically, you know, A minor 7 over G, whatever you want to call it. But A minor over G, that's how I'm going to play it. You basically want to get a finger down here to the low E string 3rd fret. That's going to be important for a lot of the cool stuff we're going to do. We're also going to have this G6 and G7, as I call them, right? If you just play the 6th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, the G6 is basically putting your middle finger down on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Okay, and G7 is basically 1 fret next to that, 3rd fret of the 4th string. And when you play a regular G, the G6 and the G7, you kind of hear the sound, right? It's like a rise. Right? That's going to be the voicing for the G7 and the G6 that I use in my tab sometimes. Now this F voicing right here, this is an important one. I have a whole separate lesson on this with a separate PDF showing you how to play this, giving you some exercises. It's really good. Basically what we're doing here is we're going to start off with just our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string, ring, middle, index finger, and then what you want to do is sort of wrap your thumb sideways and get that 1st fret of the low E string. This is really good for fingerstyle because you basically have your pinky free to do other nuance and flourish notes, right? And it takes practice. The one bit of advice I would have is tuck that arm in, like your elbow to your body, and really like put almost your palm against the back of your guitar neck. It just makes the ergonomics of the whole thing a lot easier. So as opposed to if you're like this, it's just like it's a lot trickier. So really tuck that arm if you're doing that F there. And the other one we have here is this D7 over F sharp. So this is the simplest way to play it is just a regular D7, right? Now, it's crucial to get the F sharp bass note because we're going to have lots of walk-ups and walk-downs where we want the bass notes to sort of be clear, and we need this F sharp. You can play it like this, which is a regular D7 with your thumb wrapped around, but I don't do that. What I do is this. First of all, you're always coming to this chord from either an A minor or an F, okay? And in both those cases, your index finger is already going to be right here, okay? So what I want you to do is keep it there and then basically put your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the low E string and then your ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So 2nd, open, 2nd, 1st. We're not going to play the highest string, the thinnest string. We're not going to play it. Okay, so this is the D7 voicing I use. Again, use whatever voicing you want, but I find this one to be a lot easier to do myself. And I know that this is a voicing I learned for some John Prine stuff. I think if it's not, I don't know if it's Clay Pigeons or if it's My Old Kentucky Home Goodnight. But anyway, that's a valuable chord voicing. Okay, so if we were to look at the same progression as we had before, right? So the intro, right? So I'm going to talk about the intro in a little bit. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that, but C, 2, 3, 4, G7, 2, 3, 4, A minor, walk it down to F, right? And then to C, and then G7, and then to C. Okay? Now, the verse is pretty standard as far as what I showed you earlier. The only difference is we do have a walk down on the A minor in the second half of the verse, right? So it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. It ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Okay, then we go walk it down to the D7. It'll never do somehow. And then G, G6, and G7, right? Let me play that a bit more fluently, right? It ain't no use to sit sit and wonder why, babe. This is part one. If and you don't know by now, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Walk it down. It'll never do. This is D7 somehow. Okay, I just walked it up from G to G6 to G7, and now we have the chorus, right? So when your rooster crows at the break of dawn, F, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on, but don't think twice, it's alright. Okay, so that's basically what you're going to do there. One thing I want to call out about the progression is in the chorus, third line, second chord. This is G over B. That's just second, open, open, second, right? It's a G chord, but the B note's going to be our bass note. Here's the thing, is you can play also an E here. With a bass note, a B bass note is ideal because you want to have the walk down. Right? We're going from the C to the B to the A minor to the G to the F. Okay? So whether you play a G over B, or if you do an E, they both sound good, right? I think the E adds a little bit of interest in my opinion. The E is a bit trickier to do, I think, because we're not used to being in the E major mindset, especially if you are using the 5th string bass note. It always trips my brain up if I'm doing an E, but I'm playing the 5th string as the bass note. So anyway, do what you want there. I wanted to call that out. But now you know the chords and you know the chord progressions. Okay, so now we're going to get into the intro and look at how to play that. And then in the back half of the lesson, I'm going to talk about how to do some Travis picking stuff during this verse, okay? Because it gets a bit trickier when you're singing and you're playing fingerstyle, especially if you want to do a... Right, if you want to do that sort of thumb stuff while you're singing, it's trickier. So I'll come back to that later, but now let's look at the intro, all right? 4 ways to play the intro. The first way to play it is going to be what I call the most chill and basic version, okay? And this one is basically defined by thumb bass note, and our thumb's going to stay on just one string for each chord, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm playing the easy version of the F. This is the simplest possible version. If you just want to learn this song and do fingerstyle, this is what I would recommend playing, okay? It's just like this, right? So C to G, okay? And for all these chords, I'm basically keeping my index, middle, and ring finger on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string for all the chords. That's nice and standard, or it's consistent, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A minor, over G to F, 2, 3, 4 to C, 2, 3, 4 to G, 2, 3, 4 to C, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4. And you could sing it just like that. And I find it, honestly, when I finger pick it like this, I can sing with a lot of expression because my fingers have a pretty easy job to do, right? When I'm doing the Travis picking, I mess up the lyrics. I can't sing in time. I'm just stumbling all over the place. But this one, you know, it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. If and you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It'll never do somehow. And even though my tab only shows you the intro, you can just use this approach for the verse and the chorus, right? Just bass note with your thumb, and then 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string with these fingers. That's all you do. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass, whatever this is. Pluck, bass, pluck, bass, pluck, bass, pluck. Okay? So that's the most chill version on earth, right? Version number 2 is what I'm going to call traditional fingerstyle version. Now, I just did a lesson on the difference between Travis picking, which is when basically your thumb is going to be alternating bass notes. This is trickier, right? Because you have your index finger doing its own thing, right? This is Travis style. Traditional, what I'm calling, is basically where you just have You have one finger on each string. So that's what we're going to do here. It's traditional. Your thumb is highlighted with the yellow note. Whoops. Here we go, right? This is it. Second line. All right, let me do it one more time. Now, the key here before I play it again is to say this, is that I'm using the same pattern for each chord, and that is thumb, middle, index, ring, thumb, middle, index, middle, okay? Whatever chord I'm playing, I'm doing the same pattern. Thumb, middle, index, ring, thumb, middle, index, middle, right? That is repeating over and again. And this is cool because I find it very meditative to do. You can practice this when you're driving, when you're sitting around, you're watching TV. You can just sort of just feel out the pattern, right? Even if you're on your leg or on the table or whatever. So what we're doing is we're using that pattern here, and we're just going to always play the bass note with our thumb, and then we're going to mostly be on the second, third, and fourth strings, but we're actually going to venture up to the thinnest 3 strings for the G7. Okay? And you could sing it like that if you want. It ain't no use in calling out my name, girl, like you never done before. I find if you're gonna sing it though, you gotta slow it down. It ain't no use in calling out my name, girl. Or you get the idea, right? So that's the traditional fingerstyle version. I wanted to share that one too, in case that's your cup of tea. But next, we're going to move into these Travis picking arrangements of the intro. Now, this is going to be a version first that's closer to what Dylan plays. Then I'm going to show you. Oh, I got a picture of him. Well, he's up there in my record rack behind me. I'm not going to mess up my camera right now, though. So the first version is going to be what Dylan plays. The second version is going to be my own preference. So I practiced this song pretty hard for the last 2 weeks, and I find that when you work out songs like this that are kind of tricky, it's kind of common to settle into your own preferred way to play it, and that's what I did, and I'm going to share that last. So first up, let's look at what Dylan is doing. So this is where the Travis picking kicks in, okay? So you look at this tab, and the first thing to notice is you need to get your thumb is going to be called out by those golden bass notes, right? So if I'm on the C, I'm going 5th string to 4th string to 6th string to 4th string. Now I'm doing this, I'm just on the first measure right now, repeating the first measure. I'm doing this by moving my ring finger, right? I've seen some people on the internet teach this song, and they're very passionate about doing this, where you play a C with the 6th string, 3rd fret, C over G, right? You could do that too. That way you're not moving your left hand. To me, the convenience of this is not worth the mental anguish of having to remember how to do a C like that. I can never remember. I don't do it that much. I'd rather just move my ring finger, right? This is more natural for me. So do what you want, though. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But again, I would practice this version by going through each measure and just doing your right thumb first. Because again, the right thumb is that golden circle note. So for the C to G, A minor, F, C, G, C. Right? And then when you bring in, and then the other notes on the thinnest 3 strings, they all can be played with your index finger if you want, or you can use your middle finger to help you. So it would sound like this. Okay, so that's what Dylan's playing. He's doing it a little bit faster than I did. And it's tricky. You know, he might get in there a note or two that I'm not doing. What I'm doing here is calling out like the 80% notes that are the most loud, that he's playing with the most volume. And the reason is like, he's playing this so casually, and he's playing just going on the fly. If I try to tab that out, it just kind of gets messy. So again, I'll take it really slow here. one thing I would say characterizes this arrangement is notice on all the measures where he ends it on the 4 and count with his first fret of the second string, right? In the second measure he does it, the third measure he does it, and on the 5th measure he does it, and the 6th, 7th, and 8th measure he does it, right? So that, right? He does it before. So that's a note that is tricky to play because you have to rush it and then you have to get your bass note on the next 8th note that follows. So it's tricky to do, but it sounds distinctive because it's pushing that note. It's happening on the 8th note before the 1 count. So it kind of like it feels like it's pulling the melody along or the whole arrangement along. So it sounds good, but it's tricky to do. So I recommend that you only mess with this version if you're really it speaks to you and you feel compelled to play it like Bob does. But let me show you how I play this song now this arrangement, because this is a bit this captures the best of what Dylan does, but it also is easier to do. It's so much easier in my opinion. So my version looks like this. I'm going to play it for you. Couple things I'm doing here. One is I'm always doing a pinch on the 1 count. And by a pinch, I mean I'm plucking the bass note of the chord, and then I'm also plucking, in most cases, it's the 2nd string with the bass note. Okay, so that's the 1 count, pinch, 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 pinch. I find that just provides me with a nice rhythmic anchor, because so much of Travis picking is you're doing these that's how Dylan plays it. There's so much of the syncopation where the melody note's happening separate from the bass note, right? And that just makes it that's tricky to play. It sounds good, but it's tricky to play. So what I'm doing is a bit more just chilled out, man. Adding that walk up as well at the end of the last measure. And the final thing I'll say about this is I'm hammering on that G7 note, right? If you can't do that, here's what it sounds like. It sounds just as good. All right, see, that gets you nearly there. It sounds pretty good, just as good. But if you get comfortable with that, then you can sort of bring in that hammer on. And the hammer on really means you're just playing it at the same time. You're just sort of telling your index finger, hey, come in like a 1/4 of a second late and just push down hard. So get comfortable with the non-hammer on version. But hey, this is my version of the intro riff. And with those 4 versions, I hope you're in good shape there. All right, now let's talk about playing fingerstyle during the verse if you're singing, okay? Why I bring this up is you can't really just play the intro riff over and over again while you're singing the verse, because number one, the progression is different. The chords are different, right? And number 2, and this is important, during the intro, you're not singing, right? So you want to be a bit more fanciful and add flourish with your guitar, right? You want to add those melody notes and have some distinction with what you're playing. But once you start singing, your guitar kind of has to tone down its little flashiness a little bit, right? It still needs to play to provide rhythm, but it's going to be a bit more subdued and a bit more consistent and a bit more just, it's going to be just rhythmic texture in the background. And your voice is going to be doing the melody. So with what I'm going to show you here, it's going to be a little lesson on doing Travis picking during the verse of a song where you just kind of need to just tone it down, right? So check this out. On this part of the PDF, for all the chords in the song, I basically have I have 2 different patterns you can do that are Travis picking based, right? And these patterns are all based on just doing your bass note with your thumb, right? That's sort of normal. But what's consistent about them is the sort of the pinch you do on the 1 count is either going to be on the 2nd string or the 3rd string, and then you're going to go from basically. So if you look at the C, on the left side of the C, I'm going from a pinch on the 2nd string to 3rd string to back to 2nd string. You can use that exact same approach for every single chord. A minor, F, right? Even for the D7, right? For the C7, okay? You get the idea here, right? So my point in telling you this is tricky. Travis picking is hard in my opinion. Travis picking while you're singing is way hard in my opinion. And it helps just come up with one consistent pattern you do and use it for all the chords, okay? Do the bass notes, but then do the pinch, 2nd to 3rd to 2nd. Okay? But wait, there's more. In the same tab, if you look at the right side of every chord, I have an alternate version of the pattern where you go from pinch on the 3rd string, and you go from 3rd to 2nd to 3rd. C, C7, F, D7, okay, so this is a little printout I would recommend just practicing. Learn these patterns, play them over and over again until you're sick of them, but just do it. And then once you learn the progression to this song, you'll find that these patterns are a good reference point. And once you get comfortable enough, you can sort of mix and match and go, I could play the C like this. Right? That was doing the left pattern and then the right pattern, right? Same for the C7. Whoops. F. And then the D7. I'm sort of mixing and matching here, and the point there is I'm getting comfortable enough to be able to mix and match, which is what happens when you practice. Just give this time. I spent weeks with this song. Now, finally, what I want to do in this lesson is end things. When I was originally planning this lesson, I was like, that's all I'll teach them for the verse. But I got so into playing this, I worked out my tab for the entire verse, and it's going to start right now. So basically, if you want to play it like I do, here's what it sounds like. So this is the verse and the chorus. I might sing a little for context, right? So, it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. If you don't know by now. It ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It'll never do, somehow. Right? And then the chorus. When your rooster's crowing at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on. But don't think twice, it's alright. Okay, so what I'll say here is the way I work this one out, if you look at both the verse and the chorus, is in the first measure, I'm just going to play a pinch on the 1 count and then a 2nd string on the 2 end count, and that's it. On the next measure though, I'm going to do the pinch on the 3rd string and then play the 2nd string and back to the 3rd string on the 2 end and on the 3 end count, and then that pattern, right, repeats, right? So 2 melody notes for the C, and then 3 melody notes for the G, and then 2 melody notes for the A minor, and then 3 melody notes on this walk down measure, then 2 melody notes here, 3, then 2, 3, 2 notes, then 3. You get the idea. this is something that I just worked out while I was playing it. It sounded good. I liked how my mind is very much like classical structure with things repeating and being symmetrical and consistent. So I just had to capture this because I figured this is such a classic song. I know I'm going to come back to it in the years to come. I wanted to share this with you so you can benefit from this, but you can get this as part of the PDF. And, I hope this was helpful for you. This is a long lesson, but it was well worth it because it's such a great song. It's been on my list for so long. So I'm going to leave you now, my friends. Please take care. Check out my website, playsongnotes.com. You can get the PDF for this. And let me know what other Dylan songs you want to hear, what other songs in general. I'm always looking for requests. But thanks for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to take off now. Take care, my friends. See you around. Bye-bye.